Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Millennial Sisterhood podcast with your host, Ukhti, your internet sister. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about all things relating to love, life, relationships, marriage, spirituality, faith, religion, culture, femininity, philosophy, social commentary, and a couple of funny things as well. The feeling that I want you to feel after every podcast episode is, I never thought about it like that. We're going to be talking about personal experiences from myself and other amazing guests that I'm going to be bringing onto this podcast so that you can learn their expertise, their knowledge, their wisdom, and their life experience to make your life better. Okay, my millennial sisterhood, the message that I want to share with you today is pertinent and relevant to anyone listening to this podcast, and that is that you, my friend, are on time. You are right on time. The reason I say this is because as we get older, especially in a Desi Muslim brown household, I'm 28 years old, and the pressure to get married is very, very strong. It's interjected into my life through a series of phone calls and WhatsApp messages and face-to-face visits every single day from my parents, from society, from so many different angles, right? And you may be comparing your life to other people. But this is the thing, my dear friends, is that everyone is living in their own timeline. Everyone is living in their story. They are the main character of their story. And you are the main character of your story. You are living in your timeline. Now, what society is trying to make us believe is that everybody has a generic cookie cutter timeline that that everybody should be following. You graduate, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, your kids have kids, and you die. You buy a house, a car, go on a few holidays, do this and that within that timeline. Everybody, like, society makes you think that there's like this linear timeline, and it's just like this highway. And if you don't follow this highway, then you're actually derailed and you're actually not on the right path, that you're actually lost. But this is the thing, everyone. Everybody's timeline is just as unique as the thumbprint that they have. So why would you think that your timeline has to be like everybody else's? In fact, this concept of everybody else's is not even true, because there is no one specific timeline for every single person. There is no one specific life template for every single person. Just because a lot of people have hit those milestones in their life at a certain age doesn't mean that it is the truth for you or for the next person. It might not even have been the truth for them. It might not have even been beneficial for them, but they did it because they thought it was the template. Now tell me, my dear friends, do you want to be a template like we have on Canva? I use Canva a lot because I'm a digital marketer, make a lot of graphics. Templates are great, they're easy. But the thing about templates is that they look like every single other person. There's no uniqueness to them, there's no personality. They get lost in the sea of all the other templates. Or do you want to be unique? You are a unique piece of art, and your timeline is just as unique as you. So don't compare yourself to others. Don't compare yourself to Betty down the street who has a white picket fence and an awesome husband and a dog. Don't compare yourself to Aisha, who got married when she was 18, and to her cousin from Pakistan, and now they have 3 kids and they're living in Craigieburn and the kids go to the Islamic school and I'm their teacher. Lol. I don't know Aisha. Kudos to you, Aisha. I'm gonna come for that biryani recipe one day, okay, Aisha? Don't compare yourself to Maryam, who got married straight away after she got divorced because she found the love of her life, and she got married straight away, and you know, it worked out for her. Don't compare yourself to Ali, who has a six-figure business in the past 6 months, but you don't know how many failed businesses he had before he launched this business that is making him bank, and he's buying those Gucci and Louis Vuittons and avocados, because avocados are goddamn expensive. Brother Ali, please give me some avocados. I really need some avocados. Thank you. Don't compare yourself to your parents who lived their prime years 50 years ago. The world was very different 50 years ago. The world was very different even 10 years ago. Can you remember the 2010 era? It was completely different, right? Us as millennials, we know these Gen Zs and TikTokers, they won't know, but we know how it was to have dial-up internet and make sure that you don't use all your data, because otherwise you won't have data for the next month. They won't know. They won't know all the struggles of of those things, of the millennial age. Don't compare yourself, because comparison is the thief of all joy. Now let me tell you a bit of a personal story, right? This is gonna hit hard for a lot of you. So I'm 28 years old. I did get married once in my life because I thought, hey, time to tick off a checkbox on the template of life. I was 23. I found a guy who was like decent, checked it off. It didn't work out. Bam. Crossed off the list. Already derailed from the highway of life. Man. Already a failure. That's what I thought. For one whole year, I thought that I was a failure. I was a goddamn failure because I couldn't make this marriage work, because I didn't want to get married. He eventually realized that, and we both cut it off, you know. I thank him for that. Wallah, I thank him for that. 4 years later. Wallah, I do. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you for letting me go, because I know I wouldn't have left, even though I would be unhappy. Next minute, I get into a relationship with a dude. We want to get married. We were supposed to get married last year. Didn't work out. Bam! Another curveball. I felt like I was, like, you know how you're going down the highway and there's like a curve, like, and there's a cliff underneath, like, you know, next to that curve, and I just didn't make the curve. I didn't like turn in time. I felt like I felt like I just you know, rode off into the cliff, and I was just tumbling down. And yeah, that's kind of like how my life has been for the past year. Went through a very tough period of my life. Tell you more about it later. So yeah, that's it. And it didn't work out. But this time I had done the healing to remind myself that, hey, this doesn't mean that I'm a failure. Still didn't stop me from feeling like shit, but at least I knew that I wasn't a failure if this relationship, this engagement and marriage didn't work out. My dad, he sat me down the other day, and he's like, what are you doing with your life? I was like, I could ask myself the same question, Baba. What am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? I have no idea. But I do know deep inside, I'm just living. I'm just existing. I'm just enjoying every single day of my life. I'm just taking it day by day. And it may not seem like I have any apparent goals or I'm working towards something or I'm achieving something, but I'm just existing. And for the first time in my life, I have given myself permission to just exist. And my dad wasn't happy about that. He was like, Tasneem, girls your age have gotten married, they have their bachelor degree, they have their masters, and they have 3 babies and a husband as well. What are you doing with your life? Why are you sleeping at 3 a.m. and waking up at 12? Guys, I'm a night sleeper. I'm a night owl, sorry. I'm a night owl. I do most of my work at night, okay? Please, don't shame me for that, Baba. Anyway. And I really had to be strong. And I really had to remind myself of my worth, that no matter what other people's timelines are, I am on my timeline. And good things are going to happen to me on my timeline that God has uniquely customed made for me. Damn, why am I getting so emotional? It's because I believe in this so much. Oh, God. Especially when society, especially when it's your own parents that are trying to shame you, trying to cookie cut you, trying to cut you into this cookie cutter version of the template of what it means to be a good Muslim girl. And you're just fighting against that, against your own parents. It's very emotional, but it's okay because I know how to fight the good fight. Inshallah, I'll be making more podcasts about this. But yeah, and as an overachiever who has always gotten the highest grades in the class, who has always been extremely education focused, who finished her bachelor degree in 2 years and her master's in 1 year, who was very dedicated to her teaching career, who built a 6-figure business in 2 years, and who was an extreme people pleaser. This year, after my breakup, I had to actually wind it in a little bit. I had to slow down. I was going on this highway. I was getting derailed and I didn't know why. I had to slow down. I had to pull over and just sit on the sidelines for a bit and just reflect on my life. And I realized that, hey, all these things that I thought were going to make me happy are not actually making me happy. This is just causing me more stress when I don't get it. And so I had to talk to my dad. I had to have a very frank conversation with my dad. And I sat him down and I'm just like, Baba, listen, you're comparing me, your eldest daughter, to so and so and so and so. You're comparing me to Aisha, Fatima, and Khadija. But I'm not Aisha, Fatima, and Khadija. I didn't live their life and they have not lived my life. It's kind of like we expect, these girls, like us people, we graduate from high school, right? And we're all supposed to achieve everything at the same rate and the same level. Like, we're all cookies cut with a cookie cutter and we're all supposed to go into the oven and bake at the same rate. I'm a bad cookie. That's all I can say. I was not even in the oven when the others were baking. I fell on the floor. Now I'm covered in dust. But cookie dough is delicious. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that for the first time in my life, I have finally let go of other people's expectations. including my parents, especially my parents, of what it means to be a good Muslim woman. And I've just taken the reins of what that means for myself. I've never been happier. It's like letting go of a bag of rocks that you've been carrying on your shoulders for so long, and just realizing that, hey, shit, I don't actually need to carry this shit. I can actually just let it down and walk on my way. That's exactly how I feel this year. And that's not without a lot of self-reflection and healing that I've done. This didn't come automatically. This past year, after my breakup, has been probably the toughest year that I've gone through, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But you know what? That's a story for another podcast. So yeah, guys, that's the message that I wanted to share with you, is that whether you are married or unmarried or in a situationship or divorced or widowed or anything else, whether you have a job, whether you don't have a job, whether you have your dream career or you're still working towards it, you're still working towards your dream business, whether you have built a house already, whether you have saved up to even buy a house, whether you have traveled to this many places, whether you have finished your degree, whether you're just starting or you're starting your whole life all over again, that's okay. This is your timeline. Age is just a number. I used to think that as soon as I hit 30, like, I was like, what's after 30? I'm 28 now, and I realized that there is so much life to live. 30 is just the beginning. And there's no point of tying up all your affairs before 30 if you're tying up yourself and choking yourself, right? That's inspirational enough for me to let go of the pressure and be like, hey, you know what? Choose my own destiny. God has given me the ability to choose what I do. He's written it all somewhere up there, that's for sure. But in the meantime, I choose what to do in this timeline that I have. And so do you. So think about what you're choosing because of society, what you're choosing because of pressure from your parents, from society, from friends, family, and what you really want to do. What is it that you want to do? So we'll end this episode on an empowering note. There are 3 affirmations that I would like you to just repeat to yourself as you go about your day. And they are that I am on my own timeline, and my timeline is as unique as me. The second affirmation is good things will happen for me on my own timeline. Every day I am progressing towards my goals, whether other people see it or not, whether other people acknowledge it or not. And number 3 is I am okay with existing. I am okay with being. My worth is not dependent on what I achieve or how much money I make or the degrees I get or anything else. I am worthy and whole regardless of any of these things. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the Millennial Sisterhood podcast with your host Ukhti, your internet sister. I would love it if you could subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone who may need this reminder, save it for yourself, and comment below whether this motivational reminder helped you to just slow down, take it easy, and be okay with being yourself, because that's all I want you to do. So until the next episode, أختي أختكم, Assalamu alaikum, and peace out.